This time I'd like to invite our good friend, and he's a Bermuda Pacer, by the way, Daryl Hendricks, who's going to introduce our guest speaker. Daryl?
All right, well, thank you very much, Dr. Freddie. Always, it's 2 years in a row, so tough act to follow, but I'll give it a shot. Obviously, thank you so much, everyone, for coming tonight. It's great to see so many local runners again, but really, really inspiring to see so many people coming from abroad this year. I think just to introduce myself, I'm Daryl Herrick, and I'm Managing Director at Global Atlantic. We're a large reinsurance company here on the island, but also have a significant presence in the U.S. And when Marty and Mark and Allie and the team came and asked us to possibly sponsor again, we just jumped at the opportunity. And I think, really because I think, one, it supports health, which is a really big mission for Global Atlantic, but also we want to invest in the communities we're in. And so each one of you, by participating in this, participating in the events, for those who flew over, it really helps the economy. So we're really, really happy to be able to support this again. I think I just wanted to obviously thank, and I think what's amazing is we were looking at the list of people, people are coming from everywhere this year, Europe, Iceland, Africa, US. So it's truly becoming a global event, and hopefully in the next few years it becomes even bigger. I think just want to say again, thank you to Deena and Piper for coming through. Deena, I love watching, those who've excelled so much in sports tell their story. And your story is not only extraordinary, but obviously very inspirational as well. So can't wait to hear you speak. And I just want to obviously thank again every one of you here, because whether you're running a marathon tomorrow or a mile last night, or you're volunteering, as Dr. Freddie said, or you're really just here to cheer on your family and loved ones and friends, you're making a huge impact on the community here. So thank you all very much. Enjoy tonight and good luck tomorrow. Thank you. And sorry, most importantly, I just learned I'm interested. All right, so without any further ado, I am so excited to introduce Deena here. Absolutely fascinating. You can read her book, get her book over there. It's incredible. Can't wait to hear her talk, and thank you very much, Deena. Applause for Deena.
Thank you. I'm not sure which microphone I'm supposed to use. Do I use this one over here? I don't want to sit, No, I'm too energized. I just carbo loaded. I have so much energy. I had my favorite pesto pasta, which is what I like to eat before races, whether I'm running them or not. So thank you, everyone. When I was walking down here with my daughter, we were walking down the hallway from our hotel room, and I said, "What should I talk about tonight?" And she said, "You don't know what you're gonna talk about?" And I said, "No, that's why I'm asking you. Are you nervous?" And I said, "No, because you're gonna tell me what I should talk about." And she said, "Well, first you have to thank everybody." So Mark and Phil and Marty and Anna Laura, you guys have been such amazing hosts this weekend. Thank you so much. It really takes a village. We know that. It takes a village. And she said, and then you just have to say that we are having the best time, that we're already planning our next trip to Bermuda. So thank you, everybody, because it's really the people on this island that make it so special. Sure, there's places in the world that have amazing views and sunshine, all the things we value and love, but it's the people of Bermuda that have made all of us feel so welcome here from around the world, around the globe, that travel here. So it is our first time here, but it will not be our last time here. And you have your charm bracelet to add to every time we come back, right? So exciting. So as I'm standing here and thinking about what I'm going to say, one of the things that comes to mind, because we are sitting here having pasta, is in 2000, how many were here last year when Meb Kefleski was here? Meb is a dear friend of mine, a teammate. We used to train together year after year. We made our first Olympic team in 2000 together. 4 years later, we both medaled in the same Olympics. So we've been arm in arm for many years. So it's very fitting that I come here the year after him, because his medal is one up from mine, because he earned silver and I was bronze. But we were making our first Olympic team together, and the Olympic trials were in Sacramento, California, on the track. And we had a lot of friends our age that were trying to make their first Olympic teams. And at that time, we're in an Olympic year also, which is really exciting. At that time, you could get in the top 3 in your race, which didn't necessarily mean you made the team. You also had to run a certain time standard. But you could get in the top 3 and then go over to Europe and chase the time standard within a window. And so we had a friend, Jason, who had made the team in the 1500 by placing in the top 3, but he needed to run fast enough. So our first race overseas was a 1500-meter run that he was doing in Hengelo. And so we're hyping him up before the race, getting him all fired up and excited. And he goes and he's running the race, and it's about 4 laps around the track, and he's coming into the finishing stretch. And my husband, my boyfriend at the time, which is now your dad, was looking at his watch, and he's like, oh, he's so close, and he crosses the finish line, and Andrew was like, I don't know if he did it or not, like it was that close. And we're waiting, we're all staring at the scoreboard to see his time go up. He missed the qualifying time by 1/100th of a second. And he's sprawled out on the track. He gave it everything he's got. And this is actually a happy story. But the funny thing is that, because you'll see why. The funny thing is that the words that came out of his mouth when he looked up at those numbers and saw that he fell short was, I left 1 noodle on my plate last night. And that was the energy I needed to get to that finish line fast enough. So clean your plates, everybody. Clean your plates. The next week, or about 5 days later, he actually did get under the standard, so he made that Olympic team. So that's the shining. He ate the noodles on his plate and ended up making the Olympic team. So good job, Jason, for making his Olympic team in Sydney, Australia that year. So as I know over the years, the different races that I've run, whether it's 1,500 meters, 5,000, 10,000, a mile with my daughter last night, which was such a joy for me, thank you. Even though she outsprinted me in the end, it's because she ate all your milkshake, right? You finished your milkshake right before the race, and that was the energy you needed. But it's such an exhilarating moment to feel that buzz of running and racing. But for some reason, every single night at that Last Supper, the Last Supper that you're eating before that competition, is when the doubt seems to creep in. And I never understood that you just like fill your cup with all this cheering and cheerleading and positive reinforcement, and you're making it through all the workouts and you're checking off all the boxes. And the doubt creeps in at the very last minute, like, why do you show up now? And sometimes it's like, oh, I should have run one more long run, or I should have trained a little bit longer, an extra week or 2. Maybe I should push the race out. And something tells us we're not quite ready. The taper is addictive. Some people don't taper as well as others. As I look at Anna Laura, who explored Crystal Cave with me today, and I'm like, she should be off her feet. But she's superhuman, so she could do that anyway. But you don't feel great during the taper, and you start to worry, like this calf is feeling a little tight all of a sudden, or you feel like you've maybe like lost fitness all of a sudden because you've taken it easy the last few days. And when that doubt starts to creep in, the only answer is making sure it shuts up, right? Just like quiet it. And the way that you can quiet it is by instead thinking of 3 reasons you should succeed and committing those reasons to memory. Because if you look at the science of positive psychology and how we can switch off some hormones and flood our body with the good hormones that will superpower us to the finish line, is that it takes 3 positive thoughts to counter a single negative thought. So if you have this little bit of doubt and negativity buzzing through your mind, turn that off and commit to memory those 3 reasons that you should succeed. Because contrary to what a lot of us women like to think, our minds cannot multitask. I actually read that in a science journal, and I threw my head back and laughed, thinking that I was some exception to a scientific rule. But the next sentence addressed me entirely. It said, you might think you're good at multitasking, but what you're actually good at is like jumping spastically from one idea or program to the next and not giving one your undivided attention. And so guilty as charged. So if we can't multitask, why don't we put the thoughts in our head that are going to serve us well, are going to serve the moment, and disregard the ones that are trying to bring us down and fill us with that doubt. So I did that time and time again, is just having those 3 reasons in my back pocket, on demand, ready for race day, so that I can get to bed, go to sleep with a little bit of peace of mind, and wake up and get the job done. Put in the one foot in front of the other that made the difference over all that training that I put in. And then race day, when I woke up and a little jittery, I need to get in those calories anyway, because those calories are so important no matter the distance, no matter the pace. And during the race itself, there's always a moment where you're thinking, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe it's going to get twice as hard as this at the halfway point. Or maybe it feels that way at mile 3. If mile 3 feels the same way you thought mile 20 was going to feel. And so you start to play all these head games with yourselves. Guess what? Your body is ready for anything you put the task to, and it's our mind that leads on whether or not that can come to fruition. So making this space right here the best version of yourself is the only way you're going to get the best out of yourself physically there. And the best might just be joyfully running across the island and taking in the views, because some of us run for the views. I know the only reason I climb a hill is so that I could see the view on the top of it. And so making sure each time that doubt creeps in, or that you start to focus on the fatigue more than the exhilaration, or whatever else might interrupt you getting to that finish line, the best version of yourself, making sure you're switching those thoughts to serve you in that moment. And making sure that time and time again that you are creating the habit of headspace that makes this the best place in the world to live. And we're with ourselves all the time, so we might as well be the advocates for ourselves, the cheerleader that we're looking for. And we have the ability, it can start right here and right now. You don't need the practice, but your practice can start here and today, because it is a fun space to play in, to make sure that you're opening yourself up to the best you can be in that moment. And if you can add those moments together, it's the best you can be in that day. And if you add those days together within the week, it's the best you can be in that entire week. And we might fall and create little micro decisions that make us slip back a little bit more, but get right back on that horse and make those decisions to keep moving forward. And before you know it, it's been your best year and the best decade, the best half century that you can be. And so it's all within us to be that person. And no matter your goal tomorrow, you could pursue that goal, the best version of yourself. If you can hear, I've been talking a lot this week. I feel like as the days go on, I sound more and more like a man. Like I'm getting a little deeper. But so some of you might have heard different versions of this story as I was talking to sponsors throughout the week, the great sponsors that make this race so desirable for those of us to travel to and represent the island so well. There's different versions of how you can express yourself in the best light possible. You could use gratitude. I talked about gratitude in the last couple of days and how gratitude really releases the right hormones in our body. I feel like my daughter's mouthing over here and knows all the words I'm about to say because I'm going to talk about the hormones. If you are stressed out and uptight, your body's going to release cortisol, a stress hormone. If you're worried about wind or weather and you start to fret, your body's going to create this cortisol, which makes you tight, rigid, and injury prone. But instead, if you could shut off that cortisol and start thinking about things you're grateful for, regardless of the position that you're in, that your body will shut off that cortisol and start producing hormones that work in your favor, like oxytocin, serotonin, and what's the other one? Dopamine, right? I had the great pleasure and privilege of giving a TEDx talk in the month of October last year. And I was talking to the audience, and my poor daughter had been tortured for 2 months, and it finally dawned on me as I made eye contact with her and my husband in the audience. And as I was talking, she was mouthing all the words of my speech because you have to have the speeches memorized. And so I realized in that moment, like, as I'm trying to get my speech out of my mouth, that she had known all of it because that's all I talked about for 2 months. I would be cooking dinner and reciting my speech, and in the shower reciting my speech, and doing laundry and reciting my speech. So Piper knew those 3 feel-good hormones off the top of her tongue as well. But also, one of the easiest tricks that I have is smiling. Because if you smile, I smile all the time in races, although some people think it's a grimace. It sometimes looks like a grimace. But if you smile, even if you're feeling pain and torture and fatigue during a race, if you smile, your body is going to think you're happy, just the act of using those muscles, and it'll start to release the hormones that make you feel happy. So there's like all these brilliant tools you could start to use in your running and daily life. Like when your kids are screaming that song that you and Lily and True were singing on our way down to the pool a couple months ago off the top of a chandelier. That chandelier song. Do you know what I'm talking about? Does anybody know what I'm talking about? So like trying to hit the notes that are really hard to hit, but they were trying anyway. If you smile in situations like that, your blood pressure will actually go down because I felt that. I feel it in real time. So all these tactics that work in running also work in real life. So practice tomorrow. Practice smiling. Practice thinking of 3 things that you're grateful for, and practice whatever it is going to do to get you that next mile under your belt, or that next light post, or that next rock fence, or that next hill. How many people ran the 10K this morning? Yeah, there's some hills in that 10K, right? Good job for conquering those hills, everybody. So really just make tomorrow the best version, the best expression of what you've worked up to this point. When I was in the height of my career, I always had like a song lyric in my head or a mantra to work with, something that was easy as smiling to get the best out of myself in a moment. Because there are times when we get to that critical point in a race where we could either throw in the towel or continue and drop that hammer and keep pursuing our goals. And that is a critical moment. I used to dread it because you think it's going to happen at mile 20 and it might happen 10 miles before that. And so in that moment that I used to dread, I now smile in it because I know that that's a critical moment that I can either rise to the occasion to really meet my truest self, or I can backpedal on all the goals that I have worked so hard for in the months and years prior. So the expression of yourself in that moment should be the best that you can be. And I put the pressure on myself by having the mantra, define yourself. Because it doesn't matter if you run 3:30 in the marathon or 4:30 in the marathon, and you might think it matters a whole awful lot because this is the pace that you've been working for. But it's not really solving any world problems. It's not feeding the hungry. It's not making peace in a time of war. It doesn't really matter. But your character, your habit of character matters a lot. So make that moment about who you are and who you want to be. Dig down, fight hard. Be your best self out there. Define yourself in every big, bold, beautiful way possible, and it is going to be a great experience tomorrow, whether you run a personal best or fall very short of it. So I look forward to being out there and cheering for each and every one of you after I eat a big buffet breakfast. And have the energy to stand out there and cheer everyone in, maybe some hot tea to soothe my throat. But Piper and I will be out there cheering you on every step of the way and look forward to having that big, beautiful medal. How many people are just so impressed with this medal and it's like the most beautiful that they have ever seen? Yes. Is it D'Amico? Is D'Amico here? Is he in the house? Our local artist runner that designed the medals that all stack on top of each other to make this one big, very heavy, it's gonna make you have to pay extra for your baggage on the way home medal. It is so big, and it's going to be a representation of you and the character that you carried that carried you through the finish line. So good luck, everybody. Finish up your plates, and I really look forward to sharing that experience with you tomorrow. Good luck.